Hello and welcome to the channel. And for today's video we are checking out this repaint of KO of the famous Toybiz McFarlane Spider-Man, although some say it's molded after the J. Scott Campbell representation, but most people refer to this as the McFarlane Spider-Man. In case for those that saw one of my past videos when I showed you the pickup of where I got this figure, I got this from AliExpress, right? So I got two of these, and I had mentioned in that video that I had issues with both of these where the shoulders were flipped on these, and this one in particular, and on one of these figures, in this one, it's this one that had two of the same of the bottom shin, right? So this leg is the same as this leg, bottom leg. So I had reached out to the seller from AliExpress, and I showed him pictures and everything. And I was hoping first to resolve the issue by, I was hoping, to get replacement figures at first. Then I figured out a way to flip the shoulders and everything. Of course, I showed you one that I had to crack open on the side. This is the same one that I had to crack open. But the seller was only wanting to send me a replacement for one, because of the wrong leg. I said that's fine, because by then I had already flipped the shoulders on both. So the other figure, which I'll bring in shortly for a comparison, I said that's fine, send me a replacement for this one. But then he wanted me to send, he then, I'm trying to remember exactly why he refused to send. Oh, he wanted me to purchase a second one, which he would then refund and then cancel, or something or other, right? For some reason he wanted me to purchase a second one, and then that he would cancel that purchase and then send me the replacement. And I said, no, I don't want to do that game. I don't want to give you another purchase that goes towards your count, right? Because that would be dishonest to, your profile and whatnot. And I told him that. I said, I don't want a purchase to go towards your account and whatnot. And I want people to know that my figure came misaligned with the shoulders, and also it came with the wrong part, right? So no, I'm not playing that game. I want you to send me a replacement for this figure that came wrong and has a wrong part. And he refused. So then I opened a case with PayPal for both figures, right? Since I showed them pictures of how the conditions were when the figures came in and all of that. And I was pretty sure that I was going to win. Usually you always win these cases, right? They always blame the seller, right, for sending you a bad product. So in these cases, you always win, and they always end up sending you the replacement. So by then, I had already started working on this custom. So when I started working on the custom, I got the results of the case, and I did win, right? I did win the case. But what PayPal wanted me to do was to ship the figures back to the seller, and that was, well, one, that threw me for a loop, but second, shipping the figures back would cost me almost or easily twice as much as the cost of the figures themselves, because I got these for like 11 bucks. Again, remember, these are KOs. And the cost of shipping these figures back just to get 2 new ones would, you know, it made no sense to me. So I just decided, to hell with it, I'll just keep these. And I mean, again, the most bothersome part on this one is just that it has the same bottom leg, but I managed to fix the shoulders. So, but then there was another issue that came up with this guy. So, and you can see there's like a slight gapping here at the waist. I'll bring in the other one for reference, and you see that this one doesn't have that gap right at the waist. So this one broke. I don't know. I don't know the mechanism exactly. I think there's like well, I know there inside there's like a shaft, and there's a spring inside. So I believe that there's a spring that is attached at the top inside of, obviously inside of the cavity here of the abdomen, and in the way at the bottom here at the pelvic area, there's a shaft, and there's a spring that is attached right from the top here at the bottom. And I believe that there's supposed to be like a spring action waist thing, right? Like a snapping action, like the old Masters of the Universe figures. So when I was playing with the figure, I just twisted him, and it snapped at the shaft. So what I ended up having to do was re-glue the shaft, and but to do that, I had to detach the spring. So when I detached the spring, it stretched out. So I tried to compress the spring as much as I could to reattach the figure, to reattach inside, but it left like this small gap, and it was really loose. The waist part was really floaty and loose, and couldn't really do much with the figure. So what I ended up having to do is, I don't know if you can, yeah, you're probably not gonna see, but I shoved a rubber O-ring inside the waist, and it gave a tightness, so you can hear it, right? So that's the O-ring on the inside, on top of the pelvic area here on the inside, in between the abdomen and the pelvis. So that's giving it its resistance. So again, I had said in that video where I said, there were horror stories that you hear from all of these companies from China and all of that. So that's my warning, I guess, to again, I'm guessing all of these figures come out from the same factory. I'm pretty 100% sure. So if you're interested, I would say buyer beware, of course. I'm still thinking of getting another one just to replace this one. But getting it from a different seller in case something happens. Maybe that seller might be easier to deal with, right? So I'm still contemplating that. I have not ordered another one. But yeah, so that's my story regarding this figure. So again, I guess I didn't mention, when I re-glued the shaft on this thing, I did use crazy glue. So So that just, you know, in case you were interested, what did I use to reglue this thing? So now the figure itself, of course, it has a complete repaint. The paints that I used, pretty simple. I used Tamiya Red, Tamiya, their acrylic lacquer paint. I used that for the red. I used a black, I believe, yeah, the black. I then, okay, so first I painted the blue parts on the figure black underneath using Duplicolor automotive paint. I believe it was the universal black that I used, and then masked that off in order to paint the red, or maybe I did that in reverse. No. Yeah, I actually had to mask off before I applied the paint. Before I applied the red, I masked off all of the red areas. I didn't want to paint overspray red on the for the red. I didn't want to overspray black on the red areas in case the red would come out darker, because it does depend on the foundation for the color underneath. You know, the coloring will waver, right? That's why people use different color primers, right? That's why gray is a nice neutral color when you're trying to paint something. But if you use black, then the color you use will come out darker on top. Or if you spray paint white, the color that you will use will come out a little brighter. So the foundation color you use does matter. So I masked off all of the red areas to paint the black, and then when I had to, of course, remove the masking and use the Tamiya red to paint all of the red spots or red areas of the costume. And then the blue highlighting was done with marker. I used these, I had it right here, these Molotov branded pen markers. This is the color that I used. It's called, let's see, I don't know if the color is on here. Oh, it should be on there. There you go. True Blue. It's not focusing. There we go. Number 204, True Blue. So that's what I used to highlight the blue areas on the costume. Let me bring in, again, just for comparison. This thing's gonna get a little harder to stand up. Once both of these figures were, again, just a little too loose, but once you apply the you know, the second coating of paint and all of that, the joints get a little tighter. So once I repaint this guy, it won't be so loose. That head is really loose. There we go. So you can see here the comparisons from one to the other. More comic book accurate coloring versus these desaturated coloring. The blue on this guy, excuse me, the blue on this guy is almost leaning on, like, I don't know, grayish blue. So and obviously the red is a little, you know, bland, no life to the red, and obviously the webbing is not fully painted. I believe the technique they use on these guys is just like a wash, and it seeps into the webbing, which is you know, carved in, right? So what I did on this guy, when I applied the webbing for this figure, is I had to do it all by hand. So I used these pigment markers, and using, I believe this is the one that I used, yes, the 03 tip. and just one by one I went by and applied all of the webbing. So let's get a close up here, just so you can get a better look at this. And then using the same pigment marker, I applied all of that cross-hatching those cross-hatching lines. So again, this was the figure that I broke apart to fix the shoulders. If you remember, I showed you how gnarled the side of the plastic here was. Sorry. So you can see here, you know, there's no visible gnarling anymore. So what I ended up doing is, you know, sanding that area flat using, you know, this is nail files, but different grades. You can use, you know, regular sandpaper. So I ended up using that to smooth it out, and then just crazy glued it, you know. I did apply some of that modeling clay that I use for to smooth out the area, and then using the crazy glue to harden it and get a smooth finish. And then I applied the paint. You can see here that that other calf, that's the same as on this one. And I also think maybe the feet aren't even the correct feet. I mean, this foot looks like it's the correct right foot, or I'm sorry, left foot. But this one almost looks like it should be a right foot and not a left foot. You can see almost the angle of the toes, how this one leans more towards, if this was like the toe and then the other fingers, right? This one is a little more neutral. But you can see from the shape of the foot that I'm pretty sure this is our correct foot. I don't know. But it does look weird when you look from it from the top. I don't know. And then look from the back. And then in the red areas, I did add some mild cross-hatching, especially here on the top of the mask, where these lines were always visible when McFarlane drew his Spider-Man. He always gave him those expression lines on the mask. But yeah, it was a hassle painting all of those webbings on the suit. I didn't want to use the wash technique because it would then darken the red. So instead, I opted for hand painting all of those webs. So yeah, it's the colors are coming off a little more darker on camera than they normally are. But the colors are a very good match for the comic book colors themselves. So yeah, that's and again, maybe for a comparison for a modern Spider-Man figure, I'm gonna bring in the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, right? You can see here the color difference, right? So for the custom on this guy, because I will repaint this one as well, I'm gonna do it just flat colors. I'm not gonna do the shading on it, but I might just go with more vibrant colors than on this guy. A little more closer to this. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, yeah, with the old adage of you get what you pay for. In this case, with these guys, you know, for the longest time, I wanted a good representation of a McFarlane Spider-Man. The 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 Mayfix. I also have a while ago. I showed you guys the Mayfix KO that I got, which is that one is pretty fine quality. If you're looking for a quality Spider-Man knockoff, look for the Mayfix KOs. Those are much better than this. The Toybiz KOs. Um, the only thing is you're probably the head sculpts on those aren't exactly McFarlane-esque, but you can probably pop off this head sculpt and put it on top of that one, and you instantly have. Actually, I'm gonna try that when I'm working on this guy. I'm gonna see if it works and if there's any sort of adjustments that need to be done. But other than that, that's pretty much it on this guy. Again, just be careful when you're ordering certain KOs. Do read reviews, right? Again, I may have just been unlucky with this particular figure, because again, not only did I get the wrong-sided foot or leg, bottom leg, but it also broke pretty easily, actually. If I remember correctly, I thought that these guys, because I never handled this figure before I had these, right? And just look from watching reviews, I didn't remember if the figure had like a nab crunch or something, you know, similar to this, where you can bend them at the waist. So I thought this figure had that feature, and I may have tried to attempt a nab crunch at the waist, and I believe that's when it snapped. So that's partially my mistake. Because I did try, I guess, with this guy, and there is like some slight movement, if you can tell. But again, there is a shaft that goes from here to here, so no, you don't get a nap crunch at the waist. So again, it's probably my fault that it broke, but it did break pretty easily. You can see this one, I stretched it a couple of times, and since then, you know, and it's held up. So this guy is probably just a little more faulty than the other one. So yeah, that's about it. You know, again, buyer beware. Read reviews, even if you know, not all product that you get from AliExpress is bad. Like I said, I got that Mayfix KO, which turned out great. I have bought several KO transformers that all turned out great. So maybe it was just time. You know, I was due for a dud, but I did the best out of it. I made the best out of this situation, and maybe if I can find a cheap parts bin lot on eBay that has, you know, maybe a loose leg. I know this particular mold was used different for several different incarnations for the Toybiz, you know, releases. Not necessarily just for the McFarlane type. With the McFarlane type head sculpt, they used different heads and arms and whatnot. But I believe that this was reused a few times. So if I can find one of those, all I need is just the bottom leg, and I'm good. And this figure, I would just repaint it and all of that, and you know, that's it. For as far as, you know, I guess I didn't show you posability. You know, again, everything is good. The paint stuck for the most part. You know, there was some gnarling of paint here at the waist hips, but since then it's pretty dried, and it's managed to stick, you know. So yeah, I'll probably not have too many issues with this guy or with paint peeling off, right? So there you go. Weird pose. So anyway, um, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll be seeing you in the next one.